Commerce Minister Mr. Piyush Goyal, speaking at Startup Mahakumbh, mocked and insulted the gig startups that are providing a crucial service to our economy, giving livelihoods to nearly 1 crore Indians. And this comes from a minister who has overseen a significant rise in unemployment and stifled GDP growth under his watch. This isn't just hypocrisy, it's an insult to the very enterprises keeping India's economy afloat. So here's my response to Mr. Piyush Goyal's ill-conceived remarks at Startup Mahakumbh.
What are India's startups doing today? We are focused on food delivery apps, turning unemployed youth into cheap labor so the rich can get their meals without moving out of their house.
So what's your actual plan to turn unemployed youth into millionaires? I'm not even talking about dollar millionaires, just 10 lakh rupees a year. Do you have one? At the very least, these companies have given unemployed youth a way to earn a basic living instead of leaving them to starve. Frankly, you should be thanking these startups for providing livelihoods to nearly 1 crore young Indians, not mocking or dismissing them. The real question is this, Mr. Commerce Minister. Before you took office in 2019, the unemployment rate was around 5%. Today, it has climbed to nearly 8%. Your track record on job creation is disastrous, yet you have the audacity to belittle an industry that has provided livelihoods to almost 1 crore unemployed youth.
What does the Chinese startup do? Work on developing electric mobility, battery technologies, and with that they're today dominating the electric mobility ecosystem. I've been going through a lot of our startup success stories, and when I go all over the country, we often have startups presenting to us what work they're doing. Fancy ice cream and cookies.
You only talked about electric mobility and battery technologies. But as India's Commerce Minister, you should have done your homework better. China didn't just bet on electric vehicles. China reformed its entire economy while we, frankly, failed miserably. The reforms that began under P.V. Narasimha Rao and continued under Vajpayee completely stalled under subsequent UPA and the current NDA governments. Remember Alibaba? China's iconic startup, now worth over $500 billion. And what did Alibaba start with? Selling the same retail goods that you are so busy insulting Indian companies for selling today. Have you heard of Tencent? Another startup that went on to become $500 billion company. And what does Tencent do? They make video games, what you might call stupid games. Maybe instead of mocking these sectors, we should be learning from them.
I'm very proud of what India has done.
So what exactly are you proud of, sir? In 1990, according to the World Bank, China's per capita GDP was $318. India's was $371. Back then, the average Indian actually earned 15% more than the average Chinese. Fast forward to 2023, China's per capita GDP is $12,614. India's just $2,480. That means the average Chinese today earns over 500% more than the average Indian. So tell me again, is this what you're proud of? Is this the economic miracle you are celebrating?
But is that the destiny of India? क्या भारत का भविष्य उससे संतुष्ट है? हेल्दी आइसक्रीम, जीरो ग्लूटेन फ्री, ये सब शब्द लगा के अच्छी पैकेजिंग करके हम स्टार्टअप बोलते हैं अपने आप को. दूसरी तरफ सेमीकंडक्टर्स में ग्रोथ हो रही है, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस खुद की अपने देश की बन रही है लोगों की. दे आर इन्वेस्टिंग हेवीली टू बिकम सेल्फ रिलायंट, building chips, AI models which will prepare the nation for the future. भारत ने क्या करना है? आइसक्रीम बनानी है या चिप्स बनाने हैं?
Piyush Goyal sir, let me give you some breaking news. India would be making chips today if it weren't for your government. In 2021, your government proudly announced the 76,000 crore Semicon India program to promote semiconductor fabrication. Well, it's now 2025 and guess what? Not a single fabrication unit exists in India. Zero. Why? While your government spends years just processing applications, countries like Vietnam and Malaysia have already built factories and started production. Amcor applied for approval in Vietnam in 2021. The entire process was completed in 6 months and the factory was up and running by 2023. In Malaysia, Intel and Infineon both applied in 2021 and 2022. Approvals came through in less than a year. Their factories operational. Meanwhile, in India, Vedanta and Foxconn announced a $19.5 billion joint venture back in 2022. And where is it today? Nowhere. So tell me, Goyal sir, is this really a question for Indian startups? Or is it a question you need to answer? Instead of mocking Indian entrepreneurs about chips or ice cream, how about you take responsibility for your failure to clean up India's bureaucratic mess? Why have you failed where countries like Vietnam and Malaysia have succeeded?
I only wish they had more Indian investors rather than the foreigners buying off all our startup. We need more Indian investors into the game.
SoftBank is planning to invest $100 billion in deep tech. Meta wants to spend nearly $30 billion. Nvidia, $40 billion. India is a much smaller economy compared to the US and China. If you really want Indian investors to invest in these capital-intensive sectors, they need capital in their hands first. Today, India's private debt stands at around 160 lakh crore rupees. And guess what? The government debt is also around 160 lakh crores. When your government is busy sucking up all the capital from the markets for its wasteful expenditure, where exactly are Indian private investors supposed to find the money to invest? Maybe, Goyal sir, instead of lecturing entrepreneurs, you should cut down your government's bloated spending and reduce borrowing so that private citizens are actually left with some money to invest. And now, let's talk about your so-called support for startups. Your government punishes investors with an angel tax. Yes, punish. The US doesn't have this tax. The UK doesn't have it. China doesn't have it. Singapore doesn't have it. But India does. And to make matters worse, you even extended this angel tax to foreign investors recently. And what happened next? Funding for Indian startups crashed from $20 billion in the first half of 2022 to $5.5 billion in the first half of 2023. Thankfully, you later realized your folly and rolled back angel tax on foreign investments. So tell me honestly, Piyush Goyal sir, with these kinds of self-inflicted wounds, are you really serious about building a startup economy? Or is this just another hollow slogan for your speeches?
Choice हमारी है. Y'all are the sculptors of New India. You have to make Viksit Bharat 2047 happen. We'll need to go global. We'll need to think big. We'll need to be ambitious. We'll need to experiment. We'll need to go beyond the boundaries of our own thinking.
So let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with the startup ecosystem in India. It is the government that needs to reinvent and reform itself. Start by slashing government expenditure. Cut the bloated government workforce. Cut taxes. Cut regulations. Tear down the suffocating web of restrictions on imports and exports. And stop wasting lakhs of crores of rupees bailing out dead public sector companies. Shut them down. Sell them off. Free up the money that's being burned every single day. It is not the startup ecosystem, sir, but it is you who need to think big and be ambitious. Go beyond the narrow boundaries of your thinking. Look at Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, South Korea, economies that were behind us once but are miles ahead today because they chose bold reforms over empty speeches. It's time we did the same. Enough of the talk. It's time you act.
When we look at deep tech, and when I see the numbers are still probably 1,000 companies, 1,000 startups in the deep tech ecosystem, it is a disturbing sign. Wealth creation in the short run may happen with some of these conveniences, पर दुकानदारी का ही काम करना है हमें या विश्वव्यापी और इंटरनेशनल स्केल का भारत की पहचान बनानी है.
Please stop insulting Indian startups. Tell me, what is Facebook? Just a website to connect with friends. Yet it's worth hundreds of billions of dollars. What is YouTube? Just a platform to play videos. Simple, yet it's a global giant. What is Amazon? A glorified grocery store that delivers books and household items to your doorstep. Today, it's $1 trillion empire. And what is Twitter? Just a place to post short messages. Yet it's a global force shaping opinions and politics. These are simple ideas, but they created industries, jobs, and wealth beyond imagination. So stop mocking Indian startups for doing exactly what the global giants did when they started. Indian startups are following a proven path to success. If anything, you should be backing them, not belittling them.
today under Prime Minister Modi's guidance and leadership, we are not aiming small. We are not looking at agreements with countries who are in a situation which is even worse than what India is in. That used to be the Congress culture. What Modi ji does is agreements with Australia. We are aspiring to do an agreement with EU, the 27-nation bloc, with UK, with USA, with Peru, with Chile, with Australia, with New Zealand, with Oman, with Bahrain, Qatar.
Your international agreements mean nothing. They don't bring prosperity to India. They don't create jobs. They don't fill the pockets of ordinary Indians. In my opinion, Modi ji should stop flying around the world signing papers. He should stay home and fix the real problem, our broken economy. End India's license Raj. End India's crushing tax burden. End India's outdated labor laws. End the ridiculous import-export restrictions choking our businesses. End the wasteful public sector companies draining our resources. End the bloated government bureaucracy. Do this and India will prosper without Modi ji even having to step out of the country.